You know, most mornings you get up and you stretch and you get yourself ready for the day. And you say, boy, that was great. I had a chance to sleep really well last night. And you say, thank God for another day. And what I do most mornings is when I get up is I stretch, I get myself ready to go, I get ready to shower, and I turn on the news. And this morning, as I turned on all the news channels, and I flipped through them all this morning, I hear the headlines, there's more disappointing news about multivitamins, and I thought, okay, here we go again. You know, I've been in the practice of pharmacy and the practice of nutrition now for almost 20 years. My name's Len Brainswitz from the Nutrition Shops, and we are researchers, we are individuals that have spent our careers designing and looking at nutrition and health and designing specific products that can be used for specific entities and specific ends. And in doing this for 20 years and watching the progression of how, in my opinion, somewhere up in the government line, the desire to really clamp down on nutritional supplements has been great. From the implications of DSHEA and the new indications that are going to be making it more and more difficult to get supplements, I couldn't figure out how the FDA and how the government would actually go about this. And it seems now that this is part of this. So I decided today to go on camera and discuss a little bit of what I did when I heard that this morning. And I went to my subscription to the Annals of Internal Medicine. I do subscribe to that, as your physician should. And I decided to pull up the actual study. So I'm going to spend just a few minutes going through this just to give you a little clarity of thought and some thoughts on this. And on the two articles that did come out, the two physicians involved, Dr. Cynthia Mulrow and Dr. Howard Sesso, S-E-S-S-O, were part of the groups that released these. One released a study on cardiovascular support, the other on Alzheimer's and brain functionality. And both of those were released, ironically, in the same time frame. And somehow a press release got to the newscast that goes something like this. There's more disappointing news about multivitamins, said the study. Two major studies found popping the pills didn't protect aging men's brains or help heart attack survivors. Millions of Americans spend billions of dollars on vitamin combinations, here's a nice word, presumably to boost their health and fill gaps in their diets. Very true. But while people don't eat enough of certain nutrients, they may be urged to get them in pill form. And here it is, the government doesn't recommend routine vitamin supplementations as a way to prevent chronic disease. I do have to tell you that on our website, thenutritionshop.net, we were just reviewed by a government agency that said we were making too many claims on specific entities, specific supplements. So we were urged, and that's a neat word, to be able to pull down all of the descriptions on our website. So we have a website right now that has no descriptors on what specific entities could be used for. And in my opinion, that could be dangerous for somebody to be purchasing something without knowing what it's for. Which is, again, why we do this, why I do a radio show every Saturday morning, which can be listened to on the website. So here's a little bit more. The studies released Monday are the latest to test if multivitamins might go that extra step, and concluded they don't. Evidence is sufficient, says the quote, to advise against routine supplementation, said a sharply worded editorial that accompanied Monday's findings in the journal Annals of Internal Medicine. The U.S. Preventative Task Force now, it says, is deliberating whether vitamin supplements make any difference in the average person's risk of heart disease or cancer. Listen, in a draft proposal last month, the government advisory group said for standard multivitamins and certain other nutrients, there's not enough evidence to tell. So, a couple questions that were asked within this. Why the new focus on multivitamins? And it says multivitamins have grown more and more popular in recent years as research has shown that taking high doses of single supplements could be risky, such as beta-carotene. Here's my first point. That research piece came out in the International Journal for Vitamin Research in 1999. It has been cross-referenced thousands and thousands of times. as a single entity, beta-carotene, in that study that was given to individuals and found it increased the risk factors for lung cancer. But what they didn't tell you in that study in 1999 is that they gave it to a group, and the group that selected that ended up with higher rates of lung cancer were smokers. Mix and match. The study was debunked, and also in that study was a part on vitamin E, a synthetic form of vitamin E, a DL-alpha-tocopherol succinate, which showed an increase in cardiovascular risk. True again, synthetic forms should not be consumed. So again, this research piece cross-referenced two flawed studies from the past. I move on. What are the latest findings? With Alzheimer's on the rise as the population ages, true, Harvard researchers wondered if long-term vitamin use might help keep older brains agile. They examined a subset of nearly 6,000 male doctors aged 65 and older who were part of a larger study. The men were given either multivitamins or dummy pills without knowing which they were taking. After a decade of pill use, the vitamin takers fared no better on memory or other cognitive tests, Dr. Sesso's teams reported Monday. Another question. Did that Harvard study with Dr. Sesso find any other benefit? 15,000 male doctors aged 50 and older took the vitamin supplements for 10 years and found an 8% decreased risk of cancer. Similarly, a lower risk of developing cataracts, common with aging eyes. Another question, might multivitamins have a different effect on people who already have heart disease? So they examined 1,700 heart attack survivors, mostly men who were given either a special multivitamin containing higher than usual doses or 28 dummy pills. The vitamins didn't reduce the chance of another heart attack, cardiovascular problems, or death. We'll go into the research pieces here in a minute. What about women? Research involving postmenopausal women a few years ago concluded multivitamins didn't prevent cancer or heart disease. It wasn't nearly as rigorous a study, they said, relying on women to recall what vitamins they used. It wasn't really a study. What about the safety advice for multivitamin users, this report says? The Preventative Services Task Force cited no safety issues with standard multivitamins. But specialists say always tell your doctor what over-the-counter supplements you take, etc. And Dr. Sesso, again, argued that point. So let's go to the studies themselves. Annals of Internal Medicine, the actual study themselves. Long-term multivitamin supplementation and cognitive function in men, a randomized study. They started out with 5,947 male physicians aged 65 and older. They started giving them a multivitamin and followed them for 10 years. The outcomes weren't any different. If you follow research at all, and if you follow the concept of an aging brain and Alzheimer's, you realize that all research say that the risk factors for Alzheimer's start as early as your 30s. The concept of doing a study based on starting individuals at age 65, where the aging brain is already at a point of almost non-repair, and following patients until they're 75 and seeing no difference, is pretty much what would be expected. The concept of taking a multivitamin at age 30 or 20 or 40 to help prevent being part of the Alzheimer's group is really the study that needs to be done. At the end of this study, and again I'm going to quote directly from this study itself, doses of vitamins may be too low or the population may be too well nourished to benefit from a multivitamin. The study itself actually ruled itself out as a flawed study. Number 2, again from the Annals of Internal Medicine, high-dose multivitamins and minerals after a myocardial infarct. Hopefully you understand what an MI is, a stroke. The median age was 65 years old in this study. 18% were women. The qualifying MI occurred in a median of 4.6 years. So they gathered people who had a stroke within the last 4.6 years Patients then receive vitamins for a median of 31 months. 645 patients started this study. 230 finished. That's 36%. 64% dropout rate from non-compliance. The individuals could not take the supplements that long. Any study on any pharmaceutical that has over a 50% dropout rate is thrown out the door. 64% dropout rate. And even with that, 30% of those that did not take supplements had a problem with EMI, a further MI, or another cardiovascular event or death. Those that took the supplement had a 27%. There was a 3% reduction actually. Here's their limitations. There was considerable non-adherence and withdrawal, limiting the ability to draw any conclusions about multivitamin use. The study itself says that no conclusions should be drawn from this study because of its flaws. Conclusion: high-dose oral multivitamins and multiminerals did not significantly reduce cardiovascular events in patients after an MI who received standard medications. However, this conclusion is tempered by non-adherence. Primary funding, National Institutes of Health. Both of these studies were funded by the National Institutes of Health with a predetermined concept of that sort of an outcome. Both studies flawed. Both studies gave limited conclusions. And let me ask you, dear listener, if you take somebody who already had a stroke and now try to make a difference in their lives, how difficult is that? Does medicine have anything to offer to a stroke victim? Adding a multivitamin and expecting some change in brain composition or circulatory issues or heart issues or whatever in following a patient for 10 years is asking for a miracle. The study was designed to fail. The study was designed to take another shot at multivitamins. The idea of taking a multivitamin, once again, at age 30, 40, or 50, as a way to try to prevent a stroke or an MI is what clinical nutrition is all about. Once again, I'm really discouraged that somebody out there did a press release that sent it to all the major newscasts, and you're going to hear it all over the place. I've been doing research for almost 20 years. And in my humble opinion, doing the right things from birth and taking care of families now and making sure that you're doing whatever is necessary from a nutrition standpoint to make sure that your health is maintained is a crucial factor. Doing studies like this, and the Annals of Internal Medicine should actually be ashamed that they actually published these studies. But the real factor of whoever released this in the press releases to the newscasts should be ashamed of themselves for scaring people away from something that might prevent them from having a stroke or might prevent them from developing Alzheimer's later in life. It's disheartening. But again, it's big government trying to run your health. I'm disheartened. And I will comment again this Saturday on my radio show. You can find out full details and listen in. We're on every Saturday morning from 9 till 10 a.m. And you can listen to the show live right through our website at thenutritionshop.net. I'd welcome your comments. And you can actually hit me up right through our website, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, any which way. thenutritionshop.net. Hopefully this helps. Don't be discouraged. And if you're listening now and you're 18 or 28, 38, 48, 58, do not be discouraged by this kind of news. Both studies were flawed. Both studies were meant and designed to fail. It's my comment, and I'd welcome yours. You can reach us even by phone at 866-461-4536. Here's to your good health.